Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to abide by YouTube policies, and I didn't see anything personally. I'm only going to tell you an experience I had speaking to an employee at a supermarket tonight in California. So, I just want to kind of convey a very startling interaction or, discussion that I had with an employee at a supermarket. So, this was this evening. And, I'm usually talking about the Durham probe special counsel or the impending stock market crash or the stock market crash we're seeing in slow motion, other topics as well, and issues and subjects. And hit subscribe to this channel, hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below in the pinned comment. I had a discussion tonight with one of the people who went to the supermarket tonight, and before the discussion, I went into the supermarket and I saw a, armed security, but like not just the normal security guard, like I could see the firearm in plain sight, and he looked like he was ready to do battle. I think he had body armor also, and he was like a legit security guard, the type of security guard you'd see for a Brinks truck or, when they're transporting cash to banks. But anyway, so I usually, when I go out in the evening to the supermarket, I live in a decent location, but I drive about 20 minutes away to a much better supermarket. Because even though in the city I live in, it's nice, at night it turns into Mad Max. And I'm like, I don't want to. And also, like, everything closes down, and, like, that song, The Freaks Come Out at Night? Well, the freaks come out at night, okay, in Southern California, no doubt. But anyway, I noticed in this, like, much better area, pretty famous musicians live there, and actors, whatever. I'm not going to say where, but it's, somewhat well known. I keep seeing for the past couple of weeks this security guard or security guards that are just ready to go to battle. And tonight I struck up a conversation with the person who was, putting my groceries, checking out the person at the checkout. And I was talking, and I'm like, this is interesting, because it was a pretty nice area, and is everything okay with, has this supermarket been held up, or was there some kind of burglary or something going on? The gentleman told me that every night, at an pretty affluent location in Southern California. Now, again, YouTube guidelines, I don't know if it's true, but we know from news reports and we know from videos in San Francisco, it's not just California, it's throughout the country. But I'll tell you what he told me. Okay, so then I'll go into my whole spiel. He said every night, up until the security guards came, that were, security guards that were armed, a person or people would come in late in the evening, load up their shopping cart full of food, like to the top of the shopping cart, and just load it and go directly past the checkout, well, actually not even go to the checkout, and just leave. Load up the food, and you've heard these stories before, but to hear it from employees, I mean, you've seen videos, but to actually, and I've seen the videos, and I have my YouTube channels, and I talk about politics, but to actually hear it from a hardworking employee. And the man said, he goes, I have to drive. He has to drive like an hour to work, and he has to work really hard. Working in a supermarket is really hard. And he goes, why? I might as well just fill the shopping cart up to the top and leave like these people. But he said that every single night, and I said, how often does it take place? He goes, it took place every single night. Somebody comes in, loads up the shopping cart full of food, every groceries, products, personal hygiene, whatever. Like it's a shopping spree, like it's like some kind of, they've won like a free shopping spree, and just leaves, and basically dares the employee to stop them, and he said, he goes, the first couple times I try to stop people, and then, other employees said, why risk? And it's true, like, why risk your life? Like 50, $1 million, $100 million, $200 billion, $1 trillion, no amount of money is worth risking your life. If you're working at, a whatever, restaurant, supermarket, whatever, clothing store, it doesn't matter, jewelry store, you just let the person, but the issue, ladies and gentlemen, is the following. There's a component here where there's a certain type of individual that's been created in our society. It has nothing to do with political ideology, or I should say, what we've done to our economy. What one political party has pushed for 2 years, okay? When I say it has nothing to do with political ideology, the people that are, just loading up shopping carts and daring others to stop them, they have various different motivations. It could be that they're, under narcotics or whatever, or it could be that they're genuinely hungry. It could be a whole lot of things, that they've lost hope. It could be a whole lot of things. So that, in terms of their motivation, it's not political ideology. There's a political ideology that puts economic growth, law and order, a functioning society second, political power first. Democrats talk about systemic issues. They preside over systemic issues. They're presiding over not only a systemic issue, but a spiritual and a psychological and emotional phenomenon, and a criminal justice phenomenon or event that we're seeing. There's a certain type of individual that's lost hope, that for some reason doesn't care anymore. That is truly harmful. That is truly dangerous for that type of mentality to happen in our society. Now, I was on the left my whole life, and I know the rebuttal from, well, you don't know what the working class goes through and what people are okay. The vast majority of hardworking people who were poor don't do that. Like, nobody does that. Keyboard warriors on the left or whatever, it doesn't have to be just the left, but when you're so compassionate that you're okay with people filling up their shopping cart, but you don't want to address the reasons for this societal breakdown, you're not doing anyone any favors. We shouldn't be in this situation as a society. When we tanked the economy 2 years ago, flooded money into the country, the economy, 1 out of every $5 was created by the Fed, essentially, through quantitative easing and through through monetary stimulus, QE, and then fiscal stimulus through stimulus checks. You ended economic activity. I wrote about that in the Federalist article, in my Federalist article in October of last year. The market's tanked since then. It's gone up a little bit now, but it was like they're just trading in terms of making profits, to make profits from churning the trades now on Wall Street and brokerage firms and money managers and hedge funds. Okay, so the stock market is going to absolutely collapse. We're heading into a recession. Corporate profits are going to decline, or they're not going to grow as fast. And you're going to have valuations plummet. And the stock market collapse in addition to inflation increasing because the Federal Reserve doesn't even want to address inflation. Inflation is going to go through the roof. That is a true tax upon the poor and working class. You have a society that's worse off in every way. And it's like I said, I'm not getting into theology or spirituality or anything like that. If you're agnostic, fantastic. The most intelligent people I know are agnostic or atheist or whatever. But there is a crisis of the spirit. There is a crisis of there is a major dilemma we face in our society. People have given up. There's little hope. And media is far too influential in the lives of so many. And Democrats, what they did is they pushed to end economic activity 2 years ago. They obsessed over you-know-what. Every economic decision was based on you-know-what. Now every economic decision is going against Vladimir. And every economic decision, every societal decision or policy, political policy, is based on groupthink now. We're going to experience the reality of endless sanctions and inflation through the roof and just pumping $10 trillion into the economy through fiscal and monetary stimulus. A lack of any emphasis on economic growth. Gasoline prices at all-time highs. You have gasoline prices at all-time highs, inflation at all-time highs. Oil prices will surpass all-time highs. Economic growth at 0 to 0.5%. But see, I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Okay? Trump did everything that I thought Bernie Sanders would do and more. And Bernie Sanders had no power to do any of that stuff, even though he was cheated, so Democrats can't even have a functioning primary. And then they pontificate about democracy. And they want others to suffer and lose their lives for democracy while they sit behind their keyboards feeling so good about themselves. But when I wanted Bernie Sanders years back, I said, okay, this man is going to address a flawed or an economic system that doesn't work for everybody. Also, he's going to, in terms of foreign policy, be less hawkish, like he'll oppose the Lincoln Project. I got all of that from Trump. With Trump, we had gas prices around $3, below $3 actually, and we had inflation below 2%, and we had economic growth. What's there not to like? You don't like his personality? Well, now you have armed guards at supermarkets with people loading up shopping carts and daring employees to stop them. Then we have district attorneys that, yes, it's good if it's a non-violent crime. I agree with not giving someone the book. But if it's a violent crime, you don't just let a person out, and that happens a lot. And there's a difference between addressing systemic issues, which I agree. Those systemic issues were caused by Democratic Party policies. When you're talking about systemic issues pertaining to bigotry, well, they haven't been addressed by Democrats since been how many years? When did they just realize those issues were systemic? These are buzzwords, these are euphemisms, these are phrases and political slogans to take people away from the reality that the society's collapsing. Now, is that hyperbole? No, it's really not. Don't do this, but if you happen to, ask yourself what the streets are like in the average big city of America today at like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning. Homelessness is rampant. And then you have crime that's through the roof in major cities. And you have yes, I agree with addressing brutality, but you have a complete disrespect and disregard for authority unless or law enforcement, unless you need law enforcement, or unless the authority is backed by a Democrat, or backed by the Democratic Party, or backed by Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and the Washington Post, the New York Times, and MSNBC and CNN. They're telling you inflation is just fine, gas prices are no big deal, that you need to sacrifice because of democracy. Everything, the worst nightmares of Trump's administration are taking place under mashed potato brains right now. And the only solace morally superior, liberal, wonderful Democrats have is that, well, at least Trump isn't tweeting. And we have a nuclear confrontation that I predicted that's becoming more evident every single day. And I was right about that. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. It is, when you hear somebody working really hard, I mean, the man I spoke to, I mean, he works really hard in the supermarket late at night, bagging groceries and dealing with people. And, it's not an easy job working in a supermarket, and people are coming in, and it's not easy to buy groceries. Now it's like 2-3 times the cost. Inflation is a lot more than 7.5%. And food prices have gone up a lot more than 10 or 12%, or 5%, or whatever it is, 7%, whatever the Bureau of Labor Statistics says. When you see a breakdown of society, and that breakdown is then championed by people who claim to be all for justice and equality, the opposite is actually taking place. Greater injustice is taking place. Greater inequality. Wealth inequality is now exacerbated. Poverty will increase. Look at the poverty numbers in the next year or so. We're entering a recession. Who do you think hurts the most in a recession? You can talk about the billionaires all you'd like. They make money in recession, in an economic boom. It doesn't matter. They'll always make money. If you want to talk about the working class or poor people or impoverished communities, they're suffering now because of the policies of Joe Biden, because of the policies of Democrats. Cities are less safe. Crime is rampant. Homelessness is through the roof. There's more homelessness than ever now. And you have a breakdown. And it is the result of focusing on Trump's personality, ignoring the economic achievements of his presidency, which were profound. Before his last term, of his last year, and even during his last year, considering what took place. The economic downfall in this country took place when mashed potato brains became president. And that's not my opinion, that's a fact. You can look at every gas prices, inflation, look at economic growth. We're entering a recession. So, and then the biggest crisis in European history in decades is taking place under his watch. I mean, at a certain point, you can't just listen to the articles, or the articles can't be written, no, it's not Biden's fault. It's happening under his watch. And if it was happening none of these things happened under Trump, and every day the sky was falling. So, stay safe, be safe, God bless you. And whether you're left or right doesn't matter, stay safe. If you are on the far left, stay safe at night. I don't want you to lose money, but Bitcoin's going to get to 10,000. The Dow's going to get to the Dow Jones will plummet to 20,000, around 20,000. It will be a cataclysmic stock market crash. And we're going to have an economic decline. We're no longer the same superpower we were. You could say goodbye to that. We will be surpassed easily by India and China. And God bless them. We did this to ourselves, or I should say one political party did, but it is what it is. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now to this channel. Thank you so very, very much. I don't usually do these, but I wanted to just give you something I experienced tonight. And it was quite eye-opening.